Imagine yourself standing before a crowd, their eyes fixed on you. On the main stage, a powerful king demands your allegiance, not to a just or true ideal, but to a golden image that symbolizes idolatry itself. This was the dilemma of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. When Nebuchadnezzar ordered everyone to bow down to the statue, their choice seemed simple: conform or face death. But the reality was much deeper. They were not merely rejecting an order, they were affirming an eternal truth: we serve a God who is greater than any earthly king. This introduction makes us reflect on our own decisions. How often are we pressured to follow the crowd, even when we know it is not the right path? The story begins with a simple choice, but one that echoes through the centuries: to trust God above all else. When the three young men refused to worship the statue, the reaction was immediate. They were taken before the king, who, furious, gave them one last chance. Can you imagine the pressure of that moment? Faced with a monarch who could decide their lives with a word, most would have given in. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego responded firmly: if we are thrown into the fiery furnace, the God we serve can deliver us. But even if he does not, we will never serve your gods. This response reveals one of the most profound aspects of faith. Trusting in God does not mean guaranteeing that everything will turn out as we wish, but rather believing that, regardless of the outcome, he is sovereign. When the decision was made, the king ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter. The three young men were tied up and thrown into the flames, a certain death sentence. Here, the scenario changes dramatically. Instead of a story of tragedy, we witness a miracle. In the extreme heat of the furnace, something unexpected happened. A fourth figure appeared in the midst of the flames. This figure, which many believe to be a manifestation of God himself, walked with them, protecting them from the fire. Consider the impact of this scene. The guards who threw the young men into the furnace died from the heat, but Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not even touched by the flames. What does this scene teach us? That God not only delivers us from hardships, but walks with us through them. When Nebuchadnezzar himself saw this incredible scene, he was astonished. He, who had only moments before questioned God's power, now recognized his sovereignty. The king called the young men out of the furnace, and to his surprise, they did not have a single hair on their heads or even the smell of fire. This radical change in Nebuchadnezzar's heart shows us something extraordinary. When we live by faith, our story can transform even those who initially challenge us. How often can our acts of faith and courage serve as a witness to those around us? This passage is a powerful reminder that God is able to use any situation to manifest his glory. The courage of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is an inspiration to us all. We live in a world that often asks us to compromise our principles for the sake of convenience or social approval. However, the story of these young men shows us that true courage is remaining faithful, even when it seems impossible. Are you facing a furnace in your life? Maybe it's a challenge at work, a challenging relationship, or an internal struggle. Remember, just as God was with these three young men, he is with you too. What makes this story so powerful is Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's unwavering trust in God. They didn't demand a miracle, but trusted that God knew what was best. How often in our lives do we put conditions on our faith? If God does it, then I will believe. But these young men show us that true faith is trusting, even without guarantees. This story invites each of us to reflect: are we willing to trust God completely, even when circumstances seem contrary? The image of God walking through the furnace with young people is one of the most powerful moments in all of history. This reminds us that God is not a distant spectator of our struggles. He is present, walking alongside us. When we face our own trials, we can trust that we are not alone. God is faithful and will never abandon us. This is a message of hope in the midst of life's challenges. No matter how big the furnace, the God who walks in the fire is always there. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego ends with God's glorification. Nebuchadnezzar declares that there is no other God who can save like him, but the story also leaves a challenge for each of us. Are we willing to live a faith that inspires others? Are we ready to trust God, even in the most difficult situations? The decision to live by faith is ours. God continues to walk with us, waiting for us to reflect his glory in every moment of our lives. Today, the call is clear: be faithful, even in the midst of fire.